Are you ready to maximize your muscle gain over the coming 10 plus months to rapidly change your physique and do it all naturally? Well, I'm going to break down exactly how I structure a massing, a lean gain, a clean bulk, whatever you want to call it, a massing phase for the next 12 months to where me, somebody who's been lifting and doing this a long time, will build 10 pounds of muscle all natural. Now, the reason I am building 10 pounds, I know it sounds like a lofty goal, is because I've lost muscle over the last year, but that's for a separate video as to why that occurred. Irregardless, what I'm going to break down for you today is a simple way that you can then implement for yourself and understand better how to structure a muscle gain phase that if you haven't been in the gym all that long, you could build even more than this. And I promise you, when you do this correctly, within 1 year's time, so you add a little patience, you add a ton of consistency, and trusting the process, and then trusting me in this case, then this will absolutely transform your physique beyond what you could imagine. So first and foremost, understanding the goal of the mass phase is obviously building the muscle, but how do we actually quantify if we're building muscle, at what rate we're building muscle, ensuring that we're minimizing fat gain? That's going to be by determining a period of time, which I'm shooting for about 12 months. Now, after doing this for so long, it's become clearer and clearer, especially as somebody who's all natural. If you want to build an impressive physique naturally, it's going to require lots of time in a surplus. Over years, you should be in a surplus far more often than in a deficit. And to make a long story short, a big reason why I lost muscle over the last year is because after subsequent years of not achieving a proper surplus and bouncing from deficit to half-assing a maintenance to an extreme deficit, that is what happens, okay? So 12 months is what I'm setting my target at, and I typically recommend anybody out there that's looking to take a bulk seriously to aim for a minimum of 10 months and up to even in some cases 2 years. Okay, it's all case dependent and preference, of course. So 12 months is the goal timeline that we're shooting for here. Now, the actual rate of weight gain we have to be very careful with. Based on when I made my most significant transformation in the past was when I gained at the slower rate rather than at a faster rate. This is why dirty bulking isn't a good idea, just scientifically as well. We understand that the more fat you gain at a faster rate, the less muscle you will then gain as a consequence of that as your body weight continues to increase rapidly. So for that reason, we want to try and gain muscle while staying as lean as possible. This is in your best interest. Also minimizes the time that you have to be in a deficit afterwards to show the significant results you have accomplished. So for that, I'm personally aiming for 0.25 to 0.5 pounds gained every single week. Now, I have a margin of error of about 0.75 pounds in a single week. If I'm gaining more than 0.5 pounds in consecutive weeks, I have to reevaluate and readjust. So there's an app that I like to use, and just in general, tracking your weight every day is going to be essential in this particular case. If you want to manipulate body composition, you should be tracking your weight every fucking day. Hopefully that's obvious by now. And so I have an app that I use that's free. It's called Happy Scale. That's actually part of my complete physique system we'll talk about shortly, completely free, that you'll get access to if you want. It's going to help me make sure that I'm staying within this range on a week-to-week basis, because remember, it's all about how much your body is gaining on a week-to-week basis, not really taking into account daily fluctuations all that much. If I can stay within this range because I've been doing this a long time, that's going to ensure that I'm building the maximum amount of muscle for the minimum amount of fat gain, assuming training is on point, which we'll get to shortly. Another thing to coincide with that is to make sure that I'm keeping my waist, specifically my waist, at below 35 inches. So the second I hit 35 inches or go above it, which wouldn't happen because the second I hit it, I'm going to adjust, I'll jump into a mini cut. Now, my waist right now, at the end of this cut, I am completely depleted still. I haven't even reverse dieted. Stay tuned for a video on how I'm going to go about that reverse diet before we get into the surplus. I'm completely depleted. Right now, my waist is sitting at around 31.5 to 32 inches. Okay, I'm 6'2", 6'3", so my waist is slightly wider just genetically. But for me, 35 inches or above, I'm starting to get into a territory that I don't want to be in as far as maximizing my muscle gain. These are the basic goals, and this will help me understand if I'm making the right rate of progress to ultimately, once this time period is done, ensure that I get as close to building the 10 pounds that I'm looking to build here. Hope this makes sense. Make sure you have a timeline for this, and make sure it's not 3 months or 4 months. That's just simply not enough time. It takes significantly longer to build muscle, and you have to have all these other variables on one point, which we're going to discuss, in order to see results. So 4 months, if you build muscle at a extremely rapid rate of say 1-2 pounds a month, which would be sort of like beginner levels, or if you're recomping, you're regaining muscle loss, like I'm in the particular case, I could expect to gain back 5 pounds of muscle that I probably lost. Okay, that's probably around what I've lost total, mostly around my legs or on my arms, maybe a little bit around my chest as well. So I'm going to gain that back. But in the case that you gain 1 pound of muscle in a month, which is quite optimistic, then that means in 4 months you've gained 4 pounds. Okay, that could make a significant difference, but by the time you finish your cut or whatever else, by the time you maintain and jump on another one, the person who stays in a continuous surplus, assuming they stay within the proper ranges, for 12 months is going to take it way further and see way better results, okay? 1 proper year of a dedicated, disciplined, lean gain phase can absolutely change your physique 180 degrees. I promise you that. That is what it did for me, even after my, 8th, 9th year of lifting. If you go through my Cutting Chronicles series and what I did right before Cutting Chronicles, you'll see that is what got me to an insane transformation. However, my training was very suboptimal. Okay, so let's talk about training now. When it comes to prioritizing, if you're a complete beginner, you don't have to worry about this. If you're after 1 solid year of lifting or 2, you want to start prioritizing muscle groups. You're going to notice some muscle groups are better off than others. Some are more developed than others. Some are more developed than you want them to be. Based on that, you have to create a list of priorities. We cannot maximally recruit and train each muscle to its fullest extent and just have a completely balanced physique that way. We have to specify. So here's my priority. We basically have 12 muscle groups. Now I did forget to write in forearms. Okay, so forearms would actually be number 11. And abs, so I'll do FA for forearms. That's what it's going to look like. So we've got 12 muscles, let's say. That's how I've broken it down. The first half is what I'm prioritizing. The second half, I'm not prioritizing. I'm putting on maintenance volume, essentially. I'm trying to reserve energy on these muscles to put towards my weak points. So my weakest point right now that I believe would lead to the biggest visual change for me is if I can maximize chest development. So I'm prioritizing that as number 1. Number 2 is biceps. Again, clearly, maybe for that lighting, they look all right, but I have lost significant size in my arms. If you've known me for any length of time across the years on YouTube, you know that my arms have always been a weak point until I started hammering them over and over again like 4 times a week. They finally grew. Now, how much of that is inflammation? We're not sure. Probably a decent amount based on what we've learned over the years and what I've learned over the years about training. Needless to say, I've lost about 1 inch on the arms. That's both biceps and triceps. So guess what? That takes the number 2 and number 3 spot. Bis, tris, chest. You know what the good news is about this? That means that I got to dedicate most of my bulk, at least the beginning, first 10 to 12 weeks, to the most fun muscle groups to train. At least they are for me. Next is shoulders. Okay, I do want a little bit more rear delt and side delt development. Next is going to be calves. Okay, because you know, I think we can all do with a little bit better calves. I am no exception to that, although my calves aren't necessarily that bad. I do want those a little bit bigger because my quads outpace my calves, my legs in general. But quads is next because I did lose about maybe half to a full inch on my quads, so I'm prioritizing quads again. This will bring my physique to a much more balanced and developed and impressive look. On the back burner, we have hamstrings, glutes, lats, upper back, abs, and forearms. Forearms are a relatively strong point of mine, especially in relation to my arms. Abs have always been a strong point. I didn't train abs for so many years, and that was the muscle group people asked me about because when I get lean, my abs look good. Abs are last on the list because it takes very little volume for me. Upper back and lats, my back in general, is a massive strong point since I've been younger, okay? And that's basically it. So glutes, back, abs, forearms. These muscle groups, I'm putting on the back burner. So with that said, how can I structure a training split that is optimal? Well, here's how I went about it. For me, that makes by far the most sense. I am including more rest days, and keep in mind, this is only the first 10 to 12 weeks. That's going to be the mesocycle. It's going to be 12 weeks of the bulk. From there, we're going to have to readjust and reassess, which I'll talk about shortly. Here is the training split. Day 1, chest and shoulders. Again, chest right off the bat when it's the freshest, coming off of a rest day, completely recovered, no problem. There was no heavy leg day before, there was no heavy back day before, there was nothing but a complete rest day. I'm coming in fresh and I'm hammering the chest. Okay, now after the chest is done, my anterior delts will take quite a bit of work there too. Then I'm gonna finish off with some lateral and some rear delts. All right, now the chest isn't gonna fatigue me so much so that I believe that it'll interfere necessarily with the shoulders. And I think that it's a perfect union, okay? So I was gonna give shoulders their own day, but because of my priority, I decided on something else. Now, after this chest and shoulders day, we're gonna go into a quads, hams, and glutes day. So just a full-blown leg day where I'm really gonna hammer the quads quite a bit. So probably 2 movements for quads, 1 movement for ham and 1 for glutes. And that's gonna be that. From there, I'm gonna rest. Why? Well, because obviously we wanna recuperate from this, but most importantly, I wanna come back pretty fresh and hit my full-blown arm day. Now, this arm day is gonna consist of primarily crushing biceps and triceps. That's the main focus. And then I can slap on forearms and abs. Abs, I'm literally talking 2 sets to failure, reverse cable crunch, that's it, I'm done. Forearms, similar deal, probably 2 to 3 sets to failure with forearm curls, call it a day. Because those I don't really care about, I might even end up skipping them sometimes. Doesn't matter to me. I'm putting all my resources into biceps and triceps, giving them their own day after a rest day. And next would be day 5, which is calves and back. So again, back being very low, don't really care. I'm gonna use up as much energy as I can on the calves, and then I'm gonna do some maintenance volume essentially for my lats and my upper back. I'm still gonna push it. If I can grow there, great, but it's not gonna take up so much of my resources. Then I'm going to rest on day 6, and then we repeat. So this is a 6-day split, which I haven't done in a very long time, which means on day 7, we're back to the start. So it's after a rest day. Now think about this. I have done legs. Legs is by far the most centrally fatiguing of all of the days. So I have that after my chest and shoulder day. And then by the time I hit chest and shoulders next, my central nervous system should be very good, okay? Because I'm not really destroying it at any moment here. These are all relatively small muscle groups. So I'm fresh enough to hit my #1 priority. I'm hitting it twice every 7 days, every single one of these twice every 7 days. And I plan on starting with relatively lower volume but extremely high intensity and picking it up from there as the mesocycle goes on. Like I mentioned, the mesocycle is going to be about 12 weeks, and then the first 4 weeks I'm going to start with, again, conservative volume, conservative amounts of intensity, still very intense, but a little more conservative, and then I'm going to start increasing the volume on the next 4 weeks and then the last 4 weeks, okay? So that's my training split. Now on rest days, here's basically what I'm going to do: 30 to 60 minutes of cardio plus a stretching routine. All right, so I'm gonna have a specific stretch routine that I can bring to the channel if you guys want. 8 hours of sleep every single night. Guys, you've seen my videos on sleep. This is crucial. And the fact that I've almost never had 8 hours of sleep during a proper bulk, I'm telling you right now, I have never done a proper bulk like I'm gonna do this one, okay? We're gonna get into the nutrition side shortly as well. But as far as training, optimizing, prioritizing, I prioritized my training in the past with, okay, I'm just gonna hit arms 4 times a week, chest 3 times a week. That is what I was doing. I was hitting with such frequency, large amounts of volume, slightly lower intensity, but guess what? I started getting injured as a result the more time I've spent in the gym. Over the years, sure, when I was younger, a little bit fresher, my joints, my tendons didn't have as much stress on them from so many years of destructive lifting. Well, guess what? They eventually gave in. Okay, it's unfortunate as it is, but luckily it's at a time where I realized to optimize volume, mechanical tension, and all these factors that I'll bring more videos on as well. This is going to be a completely different ball game, and I expect some significant changes, okay? So with that said, that's how I'm going about training. 8 hours of sleep is really going to go such a long way. I'm so excited. And 200 to 300 calories of cardio is what I'm gonna be doing after each weightlifting workout. That's the plan. Some days it might be less, some days it might be more. It all really depends on how I'm feeling and how things are going. Let's talk nutrition. You may not be able to see this, I'll walk you through it. Now, all of this here, the goal that I'm aiming for is going to require probably somewhere between 200 and 300 calories of a surplus on a day-to-day basis, right? So that is the conservative calorie surplus we're looking for. Not this 500, 1,000, not this 2,000, but 5,500 skinny boy solutions type shit I used to do in the past. None of that anymore. more. We are milking out, we're pulling all the stops, and we're maximizing this journey. So it's going to be a small surplus. With that said, 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. This is actually maybe the highest I will have my protein set at in a bulk that I've had at a very long time. But there's a very particular reason for why I'm choosing this rate of protein, because technically 1 gram per pound, you've seen me say on the channel many times, carbs take priority on a muscle gain phase, yes. However, the longer you've been doing this, the better off you might be based on some recent literature that I checked. If I can find it, I'll drop it on the video. I'll show it up here for you if I can. We're showing that it might actually be a good idea to not derive your entire surplus from carbs alone, okay? If the more advanced you are, you might be better off making some of that surplus coming from protein, so it will actually mitigate fat gain a little bit more. So again, I'm taking every opportunity I can to do so. I'm gonna increase my protein a little bit higher, and at the very least, it won't harm your muscle mass if you increase the protein slightly. So that's why I've chosen 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. And in fact, in many cases, it's fine to go up as high as 1.5 grams per pound of protein for a surplus, okay? Now, things change for a deficit, of course. Here, 25% fats, also going to be probably the highest my fats have been set for a little while. As far as a surplus goes, I'm usually at around the 15% range. However, for testosterone reasons, you want a minimum of 20%, up to 35% seems to be what the literature is consistently showing. And so I've chosen a decent range of 25% fats to maximize that. As far as peri-workout nutrition goes, check this out. I have been working out fasted for the last several years. First thing in the morning, I wake up, I hit the weights. Now, with that being said, if I really want to maximize my muscle gain here, that's probably not in my best interest. So what am I going to do? I am going to have a peri-workout nutrition ritual each day. So right when I wake up, I'm getting a certain feeding of protein, minimum 20 grams to maximize protein synthesis for the duration of the workout, or most of it at least, coupled with some carbs. Now, intra-workout, I'm likely going to be supplementing with carbs and EAAs, which has been shown to, at the very least, provide the benefit of minimizing any sort of muscle breakdown, which is very common, especially when you're fasted. I told you I'm pulling all the stops. I'm not taking any fucking risks, all right? So peri-workout nutrition will be maximized. I actually just bought a bulk of cornstarch from Bulk Barn, okay? So you can consider it like waxy maize, if you will, to have in my pre-workout shake. So now when I wake up in the morning, I'm actually slamming down a shake, some carbs, it might be a banana some days, whatever, some carbs and some protein to fuel myself for the workout and again, make the most out of it. Same thing goes on the back end. After the workout, I will be consuming my regular protein feedings throughout, which will be a minimum of 4 afterwards, okay, because 3 to 6 protein feedings throughout the day will suffice, so long as you have your protein targets set up properly in the first place. Intra, I will also probably have maybe somewhere between 10 and 20 grams of carbs mixed with some EAAs. That's the peri-workout nutrition to absolutely get the most out of those workouts. 4+ protein feedings per day. That's including the pre-workout shake, but it might be after the workout itself as well. And lastly, something that I have found works well for me, variable intake daily, meaning I'm actually varying my calorie intake on a day-to-day basis based on that day. For example, I've done this in the past. You've seen it on my vlogs in the past as well. What I'll do is I'll have my calories set at my baseline, but my baseline will not include the 200 to 300 calories of cardio that I do, and it's going to be even below the strength training probably. So I'm going to have a minimum amount of calories that I have set. That's going to be what I eat on a normal rest day with no cardio done yet. And then from there, I add calories according to the workout itself. Give you an example. If I'm doing a massive leg day, I'll probably add somewhere around, let's say, 400 to 500 calories for that training session, okay? To make up for, maybe even 300 to 500 to make up for that. And then let's say I do 200 calories of cardio on top of that. I'm gonna add another 200, and that is the calorie total for the day that I'm gonna be hitting. But if it's a rest day, and maybe I just didn't do any cardio that day for whatever reason, right? It's just that I didn't feel like doing the cardio, which probably won't happen, but let's just say. Well, in that case, I'm gonna consume the very base minimum amount of calories that's going to hit a small surplus to ensure that I gain at the slow rate. This is very complex stuff that's probably overly complex for 99% of people, but if you really want to achieve a lofty goal like this one, and you're really about to zone in, go all out and transform your physique massively no matter how advanced you are, then this might be worth looking into. I prefer to do it because because it gives you the freedom of not being tied to having to do X amount of cardio on any day, or it's a lot more flexible with your schedule. What if you have a leg day scheduled, but something comes up and you literally can't do the leg day that day, but you still want to stay on point with your nutrition? Well, then you're automatically set up in a way that you're not going to overshoot, because typically you'd have a leg day that day. I hope that makes sense, but basically that's my methodology behind it. I prefer it for the flexibility, and I believe that it works well to keep that rate in check. That's it. That's going to be the setup. A few key points to ensure that you actually are predictably seeing these results, staying on top of things. Okay, these are for the hard workers out there that actually want to do and take every ounce out of this. Number one is my physique tracker weekly. I have personally a physique tracking system that I put together that I use every single week to maximize my results, and you can get it for free if you want. By all means, you can check the link in the description. You'll see the free complete physique tracker. It's going to come with everything you need for a steady workflow on weekly, daily, and monthly progress, pictures, measurements, strength, calories, adjustments, reflections, everything you need, weight gain rate, all of that stuff can be tracked very easily in one place, conveniently with my physique tracker system. I will be using that every week to keep on top of things, especially, for example, like my waist measurement. Progress picture measurements are going to be taken monthly at the very least. I'm actually thinking potentially bi-weekly or even weekly, but we'll see about that. I'll keep you posted. And 10 to 12 week mesocycles, coming back to that. This training split is for the first 12-week mesocycle that I'll be running. And so from there, after that mesocycle is done, or even throughout it, I will be adjusting either some of the days, the actual volume within the days, or the entire split at the end of the mesocycle, depending on how my priorities change. What if after the first 12 weeks, fingers crossed, my chest is just exploding and my shoulders are lagging behind? Well, then I'll probably do something here to switch that up. I say, okay, actually my chest is great, my biceps, triceps are coming up very quickly. I might put arms after chest, take shoulders and put them on their own day with forearms and abs. We'll have to see, but that's the point of structuring things in mesocycles, 10 to 12 weeks at a time. Speaking of which, if any of this has confused you, or if you just want something to plug and play that's going to maximize your volume, frequency, intensity in your training with the appropriate split, or your nutrition to ensure a proper mass phase, or if you're in a cutting phase, doesn't matter, check the links in my bio, because I actually offer monthly workout programming that will be extremely effective and efficient, that you can actually use to track all that stuff. You get a 7-day trial. Check that out. Links in my description for the training programs. As for the nutrition programs, same thing, month to month. I'm there to help you out throughout your entire bulking phase, helping you with the adjustments, helping changing up the mesos, coaching in the process, making sure that you're there, answering your questions, all of that cool stuff. I'm super pumped to announce that I am offering all of that now. So check those links out in the description if you're interested in doing something like this, but you aren't maybe advanced enough, maybe your knowledge, you're a little confused on some aspects of training. Check the training programs, Elite Physiques, the Mentor 2.0, or the Elite Figures if you're a woman. And on the nutrition side, if you have any doubts, questions about how to actually apply all of this to you, you can do that as well. Or of course, as always, you can drop a comment down below and I'll be more than happy to respond to you there. This is the plan for me to gain 10 pounds of muscle over the coming 12 months. It's a lofty goal. I'm going to be dropping weekly vlogs to show you how I'm actually going about it, high quality gym content, everything along the way to show you that not only is it possible for myself, but it's possible for you as well. So with that said, I hope that you guys are crushing your fitness goals. If you want to build a truly impressive physique, all natural, make sure you subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.